And so after I got initiated and everything, and I was up in Northern California, I moved down to Southern California, and the Southern California chapters were not conducting themselves the same way that the Northern California chapters conducted themselves, especially in the pledge process and the graduate chapters. So when I came down to LA, it looked like the chapters weren't performing the way we did in Northern California, especially on the undergrad level, in terms of things that we needed to do. And so I tried to get, I was a part of Zeta Rho chapter, and so I tried to get them to incorporate the ideas that I felt were necessary. And they didn't want to, because they're doing their own thing. They have their own leadership. So I was butting heads with their leadership, and I said, you know, everybody has to do their own thing. This is their thing. If you feel that Omega Psi Phi fraternity should operate in a different direction, then it's up to you to change that direction. So that's why I decided. I talked to some very influential brothers, and the first one I talked to was Jess Willard, and he and I were great friends. And I told him I wanted to start this new chapter, and he was all in favor of it. I said, and he lived in Inglewood. I said, well, we could start a chapter in Inglewood. And so then I went around and started recruiting brothers. I started with David Kraft, and then Tommy Anderson, Adrian Porter. These were all brothers that were made with me in Xi Gamma chapter. And so we got together, and then we knew some brothers that we had made in Lambda chapter, Chris Thomas and Ron Jones and a few other brothers from Lambda chapter. And then we had made some people from Chi Beta chapter, primarily
Valentine. Maurice Valentine.
Maurice Valentine, and he was kind of like running the Chi Beta chapter. So we got all these brothers together and to charter a new chapter, because my thought process was we had a lot of brothers that were not financial, and they were always talking stuff about what they should do and so forth. And I said, okay, if you want to change the way things are operating, then we need to get into the fraternity and change it the way we want it to change.
Initiated at Xi Gamma chapter, 1970, slipping and sliding, jive time 5.
My initiation date is May 27, 1972.
I crossed in December the 13th, 1975.
In what chapter?
Rho Upsilon chapter, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
I was initiated through Chi Beta chapter, Long Beach State, May 3rd, 1980. Ace, Spring 84, Psi Xi chapter out of Oxnard, California.
Okay.
To us, the big man on campus was the bossless of the chapter, and his name was Jeffrey C. Hollis. And he said, Brown, you know, we need men like you and Pruitt in the fraternity. So I'm a freshman. I don't know anything, and that was an honor, because I tell people, many are called, but few are chosen.
Because again, I was coming from New Jersey, and long ways from home, had no relatives here, nobody else. My mother said, man, you crazy, son? You gonna stay in California? I said, Mom, I got my fraternity, I'm all right, you know? And so that's how it was going for me in 1983. And so when they said, let's start the chapter, at the time, I didn't think about a day like today, me being recognized as a founder. I wasn't giving none of that any consideration. But again, I said, yes, let's do it, you know? And so all the brothers that was joining, starting the, chapter, except for a few I knew and had, good relationship with. And so it was easy for me.
Say, my best and dearest fraternity friend is Brother Larry Walls, one of the founders of the chapter. He was the one that inspired me to get financial again, because I was one of those brothers after I had graduated. I came to LA and I was a member of Lambda chapter. but I was the brother on my line that had no rhythm and couldn't march and dance. So, you know, all the activities that the brothers did either turned into a march down or a dance. And since I couldn't do that, I basically went financial. And then when Brother Walls approached me about getting financial with Phi Beta Beta, I thought about it, and I told myself the exact same thing that I just said, that I got a lot of nerves. My best friends are fraternity brothers, and I owed it to the fraternity, Belize Financial, and I knew that the fraternity's basic premise was doing community work. And I said, as long as we're going to be doing community work, then I would become a member of Phi Beta Beta. And I'm proud to say that we started off doing community work, and Phi Beta Beta is still known for doing community work. And brothers that have followed are keeping that at the #1 priority.
Out of all of the chapters in LA, I always felt like Phi Beta Beta ruled the yard. We had the best boat rides, we had the best parties, we had everybody knew us, you know, from guys working in the district. It was almost like they'd have to slide by us and check us out to see what we were doing, even though Zeta Rho was real strong and Tata was real strong, but the mighty small group, the 30 guys, we turned parties out. I mean, not because we were like outspoken or anything, but everybody was slick. Everybody was cool. Everybody, Ray Gibson had the gray on the sides. He looked like Batman in disguise, you know. He's always pressed. We had a whole bunch of folks that were sharp and had their business together. And professionally, we had a whole bunch of guys that could make things happen.
Don't forget where you came from. Never forget where you came from, because you can always pull something from your past that'll give you strength in your presence to go into the future. Sometimes when you feel like you're all alone, that's why, let me just say, why this so-called country is attempting to take away our history. Take black history out of the schools, because they want us to forget the great past that we came from. We have a responsibility to never forget where we came from. Never forget the blood, the sweat, and the tears that our ancestors fought and died. That Fatty Lou Hamer died just so we could have the right to vote. I tell my son all the time, and then all the other young brothers, blood is on the hands of those who don't vote. Your ancestors' blood is on your hands. So you feel like you can't vote? It starts on a local level. You know, people say, oh, I talk about the president. It starts locally. Look in your community. Look in your community, make an impact there. That's where it starts at. So never forget where you came from, because you'll always will remember which way to go. As long as you never forget where you came from. That's what I would say.
I know back in 1981, 82, 83, when I came up with the idea about improving the performance of Omega Psi Phi fraternity in the Los Angeles area, I never contemplated that 55 years later, Phi Beta Beta chapter would be the outstanding chapter and outstanding young men that have come about to honor the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, Phi Beta Beta chapter, and me and the founders, not founders, but charter members. My Delta sister corrected me and said, "You're not a founder. You're a charter member of a chapter." So it's a wonderful thing because throughout life, we're all going to leave a legacy of some kind. It might be good, might be bad, might be indifferent, or it might be nothing. But you will leave a legacy. And myself personally, I fancied myself as being a champion, and I wanted my legacy to be one of accomplishment and achievement. But it's been a pleasure, and it's been an honor, and I'm really thankful that you young men respect me and verbally the way you have and the way you do. I just try to live, as Martin Luther King would say, a committed life.